Percent overall from the field, but he was also 50% from threes. He's 5 of 10.
I know you're out there. It's okay. Stand back there.
No, more than likely you're gonna get that number 1 seed, and so I want Houston to be ranked at number 1 and 8.
Welcome into another episode of Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Saxenian Family. We are coming off history as the number 3 ranked Houston Cougars men's basketball team played in their inaugural Big 12 conference game this Saturday afternoon from the Fertitta Center, and boy, was it a successful outing for the Houston Cougars, in which they came out victorious in a one lopsided dominating performance for the Cougars. They come away with the 89-55 victory over the West Virginia Mountaineers. LJ Cryer led the way with 20 points, shot 7 of 12 from the field. Javier Francis had 13 points and 5 rebounds, and Damian Dunn had a good shooting performance with 14 points on 50% shooting from the field. Joining me, as always, Dayon Dunlap and Kris Gardner. How are y'all doing? Welcome in to another episode of Let's Rage Coogs.
Doing great. Doing fantastic. Let's talk about this thumping the Coogs put on WVU today.
As well, doing great as well.
So let's talk from the get-go, and as we're going to hear from the West Virginia head coach. But one of the things that really stood out to me from the jump, it just seemed like West Virginia was not prepared for the physicality that Houston played with. And it was pretty obvious from the get-go. I spent much of the first half right by West Virginia's bench, and every time it seemed like a ball went up and Houston shot it, that there were at least two Cougars flying, swarming for the rebound. And it gave West Virginia fits every time the Cougars came away with an offensive rebound period. You could see the frustration on the bench, on the sidelines from the Mountaineers. And on the other end, every time West Virginia shot it, it was one and done for them. Houston didn't really give them a lot of opportunities to be able to get those second, third chance points. And I think that was a big reason why Houston was able to build up that big advantage in the first half. And obviously, of course, a total team effort top to bottom, but in particular, how successful they were able to be against the two main players when it comes to West Virginia in obviously Battle, of course, but their point guard as well.
Emmanuel Sharp set a tone. He took on the challenge head on, defending Raekwon Battle, did a great job, got after Battle. Battle came in averaging 27 points a game, shooting almost 50% from the floor, and he had none of it today. And I think Battle struggles for West Virginia set a tone, and they just couldn't handle Houston's defensive pressure. Coach Eilert said after the game in the presser with us that seeing it on tape is different than facing it on the court. And we've said that before on numerous editions of Let's Rage Coogs, but it's going to take opponents a while to get used to the Houston Cougars defense.
Yeah, that defensive intensity and defensive pressure is definitely what stood out. And they seem to never really get adjusted until late in the second half when it was like 70-35 or something like that. They finally looked like they was able to kind of get adjusted to the pressure and the way Houston defends. But yeah, I mean, you guys hit it right on the head. Houston's defense is really what stood out and really shocked West Virginia really early. And I think the team and I think coaching staff really do a good job of always challenging the players to defend the other opponent's best player, because this isn't the first time we see the other team's leading scorer come in averaging X amount of points, and Houston do a great job of defending him. So shout out to the defensive game plan that Houston always puts on display in regards to defending other teams' top players.
Kris, you asked head coach Kevin Samson about the performance that Emmanuel Sharp did on their top scorer in Battle, who came into
I asked Jamal shit about that.
Yeah, correct, Jamal. But coming into this game, Battle was shooting over 48% from the field, correct? And until literally 2 minutes 45 seconds left in the second half. He did not score a single field goal, and even that field goal, it was I wouldn't say fluky is probably not the right word, but it was a kind of a bang bang play where Malik Wilson went up, tapped the ball, and it just happened to bounce in favor of Battle, and he was able to get the easy slam dunk. Houston's defense was phenomenal, and again, one of the biggest things that West Virginia head coach Eert, is that how you say his last name? Josh Eilert.
Josh Eilert.
Eilert, when
Yep.
it comes to um, the success that Houston had on West Virginia, is that defense. He said that they looked like the top defensive teams that he's seen in the past from Big 12 teams. So it looks like Houston's going to fit right in the conference.
Well, defense travels. We said it. The fans of this show say it or have come around to our line of thinking that Coach Samson has said for years. Defense travels. And the Cougars play very good defense. They get after opponents. They disrupt their offense, take them out of their number one option. And Houston's defense is really, really good. And offense is not going to always shoot 50+%, but they're going to get after defensively and make you work for your points. And if you haven't faced them before, it's going to take you a while to adjust. And one thing Coach Eilert kind of touched on is it also depends on how the refs call a game. First half, that's your first 10 minutes, the refs were not calling a tight whistle. Advantage Houston. If they're not getting in foul trouble early, opponents are going to struggle scoring against Houston. Second half, Cougs had like 8 fouls in the first 8 minutes of the second half. WVU got some points that way. But other than that, it's hard to score against Houston if the refs are letting Cougs play physical.
And it seems as if the players were hyped up in regards to their first Big 12 matchup against West Virginia. And sorry, West Virginia had to get not sorry. I'm glad they did get what they got. But it seems like the players were really, really focused and adamant to come in and make a statement in their first conference game in the Big 12. I mean, their non-conference schedule was what it was, but it seems like they were motivated to come in and make a statement. They did that really starting on the defensive end.
On the topics of statement, one of the players that had a good game and the head coach Calvin Sampson really focused on and made sure to shout out after post-game press conference was the big man in Javier Francis, who, like I said at the top of the show, he had 13 points, shot 6 of 8 from the field, had 5 rebounds, and really had a good, strong performance in this Big 12 opener. Here's what head coach Calvin Sampson had to say on Francis after the game in Houston's victory over West Virginia.
Yeah. That's I'm glad you asked that, Starnes. He made Maul made a great pass, and he called it, and he traveled, and I think there was a timeout, and I got him a little bit. But then I came out of that timeout, and I ran a play for him. We went right back to him. And I went right back to him because I believe in Javier. Javier is a really good player. He's a starting 5 man on the team that's ranked in the top 10 in the nation. You know how good you got to be that guy? You have any idea how good you got to be the starting 5 man on a team ranked in the top 10? Look at all the 5 men in the top 10 in the nation on those teams. Look at them. Look at JVA. JVA's getting better, and he's coming. And that combination of him and JoJo, they're only going to get better and better and better. That's why I trust our staff and I trust our decisions.
Good. Last question, we'll go to.
So once again, that was head coach Kelvin Sampson, and really, really high praise for Javier Francis. And again, a testimony, kind of a reinforcement to the commitment that they have put in, the hard work for Javier Francis, not only this season, but in the past couple of seasons where development, we've talked about it in previous shows countless times, but that's really one of the things that this program prides itself on is that development across all positions with the players. And Javier Francis is just one of those many long names of players from years past.
Javier had a good game. He reacted more. He got some dunks, some two-hand dunks. Not a lot of hesitating around the rim. He was much more assertive and quick in his reactions. Good for him. I'll be picky. We're not looking ahead, but next 2 games on the road, Big 12, let's see what he does Tuesday. If he can follow this good performance today on the road. If he does that, that's a very good sign for the team going forward.
Yeah, I think it's a good sign for him to, like you said, to stack these games up. I think this is the part of it. Game one, conference game at home. Now this is kind of like the standard in regards to what you can do, and let's see this stack these games up from game after game after game. Because like you just said, Chris, those dunks around the rim is what we've been asking for. No
Hmm.
more little layups and being um, not going up fully aggressive, looking to punch it in, and he was quick off his feet and using athleticism to all the stuff that he'd always done, but he was just more aggressive and dunking it and doing the things that he normally does. And now it's about stacking these games up and being consistent 5 man on a top 10 team, like Coach Samson said. And I think he can do it.
On the topic of aggressiveness, one of the other players in that same front court that had a couple of big moments, and he had obviously the big slam dunk in the first half, Jojo Tugler, who, again, Kelvin Sampson made sure he pointed him out as well in his post-game press conference. But really, the ceiling of this front court is sky high. There's a lot of optimism when it comes to both Javier Francis and Jojo Tugler. And Tugler, one of those other players that he came in here, he was battling from the get-go against West Virginia's front court players. He was every time he would go up, he was seeking contact. He was going through. He was trying to finish. Now he didn't always finish. It was a couple times with Jamal Shed, and that dunk in particular set him up with a perfect pass. He went up there, had that grown man dunk like you guys alluded to just moments ago. So really strong performance for him in his inaugural Big 12 debut. When it comes to what he's been able to do together, he's only a freshman. Exciting things ahead for, like I said, this front court.
JoJo played well. The the dunk the dunk attempt he had blocked. He tried to windmill it again. Gave Cook more time to get ready to swat it. But we see what he can do when he does not pick up early fouls. The last couple of games, he's avoided early foul trouble. As long as he stays on the floor, he can be productive. So it's another sign of his growth throughout this season, his freshman season. Another positive step for the Houston Cougars.
Yep, and it seems like I think I may have said this before, maybe not. It seems as if the game is slowing down from him, and I don't want to say he's slowing down, but he was looking as if he was playing so fast and picking up whether he fouls and whether however he may pick up the foul. Seems as his motor is so high and he's playing with such energy. Oftentimes he would channel that in certain ways and get fouls, and now it's is a little bit more settled but still aggressive. You are watching that game. I was just kind of looking in and noticing he has the athleticism and the length of a Jarris Walker. Athleticism and length, and the motor is just he has to develop into that skill. I think at where Jarris got him already in the freshman year is his skill. That's why Jarris was a lottery pick. So not really comparing the players, but he's in a similar same position, same program, and so I'm just kind of projecting on where he could be as I was watching him, and he looks more comfortable out there. I think just like JVA, he continued to stack these games up and get better and better and better.
We'll hear from head coach Kelvin Sampson and Jamal Shed on the other side. But real quickly, like to remind everybody they are watching and or listening to Let's Rage Coogs presented by the Saxenian Family, the original Houston postgame show for each and every single football and men's basketball show. Obviously, of course, like you said, we're coming off the heels of Houston's Big 12 opener, a big win over West Virginia, 89-55. Kris and Dayon, it is also the show in which head coach Kelvin Sampson also retweets on X, by the way, to put
Say it
that
again. Say that
plug
again.
out there. The only show that has been retweeted on X by head coach Kelvin Sampson. Got to put that plug in there as well. Of course, like I said, we can never say thank you enough to the Saxenian family, who's a primary sponsor for not only this episode, but each and every single regular season basketball post-game show this season all the way into March. And of course, we also like to say thank you to our secondary sponsor for today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs, which is Star Pizza with 3 locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game. Be sure to stop by any of the locations every Tuesday during lunchtime for an all-you-can-eat pizza buffet. Star Pizza, as always, has free delivery since 1976. And Star Pizza today also has a red out for cupcakes you can eat today, Saturday, that we are watching this, or if you're watching this live, recording this live, you can eat at any Star Pizza location after, obviously, of course, the University of Houston men's basketball team won today. And you can get a free red velvet cupcake when you wear a red UH shirt while you dine in So that's one per red shirt wearing a UH fan. So rock your red merch, which obviously was a red out for today's Big 12 opener here at the Fertitta Center. So you have until 10 p.m. today. That's when All-Star Pizza locations are open to go claim your red velvet cupcake in support and celebration of Houston's dominant Big 12 opener here at the Fertitta Center. And with that being said, let's hear what head coach Kelvin Samson and Jamal Shedd had to say following Houston's big win in their Big 12 opener.
Jamal's ability to get you guys into good shots and the offense today, what was the key there?
Our defense. When we get out in transition, I mean, they're good. They've got really, really good guards, so you're not going to turn them over 20 times or 25 times, but we watched their, they had a really good chance to beat Ohio State. They could easily win that game. But we scouted them. We saw the areas that I felt like we could attack. Pace, pushing it. Jamal's outstanding at that. I thought he was a maestro. I still remember Jamal as a freshman when he didn't get to play. He stayed with him. His freshman year, we go to the Final Four, but he got dominated. August, September, October, November. I mean, I probably stayed on him more than I stayed on kids that were playing. But once we got to late January, he started hitting back. And then once we got to February, I remember Jamal probably remembers this too. Quentin Grimes and Sasser and Giroux, those guys come up to me in the bench and said, "Coach, Jamal's going to be good." So, but good for him for understanding that you've got to develop. You don't come out of high school at a program at our level and think you're going to make a difference, because you're not. In this particular game today, being able to play through him in transition, I thought we were good. I mean, we had a really good plan against their zone. We knew exactly how we wanted to attack their man-to-man, and then when they went zone, we just flowed right into what we had worked on. And our kids are unselfish. Everybody understands their role, buys into it, and accepts it. So, our defense got us going early, and then we just fed off that.
Come over here to Kris, please.
Defensive brick on battle, start the game.
Man, he took the challenge. A guy that was averaging 27 over the last 3 games. When it's coming in here, you got to step up to the plate, and he did just that. He only shot the ball 4 times, but he was our most valuable player on defense the whole night, because he took that challenge and tried to shut that guy down. He did a really good job. So, hats off to E.
Go back to Kris. Who has the mic? Kris in the mic, please.
Kelvin, how have you seen Emmanuel get better on defense, since when he first came?
Yeah, failure. They all fail. None of them can guard when they get here, not the way we guard, obviously. I don't recruit defenders, I recruit offensive players. All we do is recruit defenders, we never score. When I was watching LJ in high school, LJ couldn't guard the back door with 2 cannons. But that's not why I was recruiting him. That's part of what we do when we get kids here, is get them to buy into our system of how we defend. Same thing with Emmanuel. Emmanuel didn't guard anybody in high school. Most of these guys played 1-2-1-1 full court press, and team either scored or turned it over or shot missed, and they got the rebound, they ran it at the end. That was the extent of their defense. But none of them played man-to-man. Emmanuel, is not the first option on offense, but one day he could be, and you'll see a lot more growth. But when we recruit these kids, that's what we see in them. What you're seeing now. But confidence. I think you get confidence from your preparation, your work. You don't get confidence because somebody tells you something. You get confidence through your work. It's like our defense. Whatever you think of our defense is because of the work we put into it and the hours and hours and hours of repetition of trying to get 13, 14 guys all to understand it. And then just getting them to buy into it. But that starts with having tough kids, high character kids, and kids that care for each other.
Come over here to Josh, please. Hang on, let me get the mic here.
So once again, that was head coach Kelvin Samson talking, in particular, obviously, when it comes to the defense that he mentioned, alluded to in that clip. One of the non-negotiables that his made part of the identity of the Houston Cougars men's basketball team. Now, when it comes to this clip in particular, he's talking about Damian Dunn, but one of the things that West Virginia head coach, which we'll hear in a clip later on, mentioned, talking about the difference in between LJ Cryer the past few seasons playing for Baylor to now whenever he talked, whenever he played with the Houston Cougars. What do you guys think about what Kelvin Samson had to say?
He's right. I heard what Coach Allard said about LJ being more balanced when playing defense, adding to his game, fitting into Houston, because it is non-negotiable. The defense is non-negotiable. Deion knows it. Everybody who follows this program knows it. You will play defense or you will not play. I mean, there's no discussion about it. You can be a high school scorer throughout your career, but as long as you understand you're going to come to Houston, you will play defense. If you do not want to play defense, Kelvin Samson's way, the coaching staff's way, don't come here. That's the bottom line.
And to that, with the defense being the focus, he will let you get busy on offense.
Yes.
And that's one of a misconception, I think, between some people. But he will let you get active on offense as long as you put the work in and everything like that he was just saying. But one thing that really stood out to me and thinking is key for this team that he talks about was establishing the pace and controlling the pace. They did that today. I think that's something that going forward that they must do and do really when they're playing well is establishing pace and playing with the tempo to being able to just get out in transition and use their plethora of scores because they have so much good scorers, good shooters. Jamal is so good in the open floor, and they got people that can catch a finish. And oftentimes that kind of opens up the floor for offensive rebounding as well.
And Maul was great today. 11 assists, 1 turnover. That's outstanding, man. I mean, he controlled the tempo, and the balance of threes versus twos is to my liking. They took 18 threes, made 9. They took 46 twos. I like that. I like getting more twos and threes for the most part. Depends on your opponent. But West Virginia had no big man, no 5, as Coach Allard mentioned. Their only 5 is injured. So their depth up front they have none. And the Cougs took advantage of that and dominated in the paint 48-20. Coach Samson and the staff did a great job of capitalizing on their advantages. And today it was inside.
Yeah, that was the advantage that they had coming into the matchup, and Houston did a great job exploiting it. And that's something that, like you alluded to, Kris, we're going to hear from the West Virginia head coach. We're going to go ahead and play the clip. In particular, what stood out to me about his press conference was just he touched on physicality, but he just touched on looking at it from at the outside, just a spectator viewpoint. It just seemed like Houston overwhelmed them, and they did have that advantage when it came to just the lack of front court players that West Virginia had. Houston exploited that, but even just top to bottom, the way they were able to execute and really take out their top 2 guards from the game, non-factor, and they would get some open shots, and those were quality shots that West Virginia got, but when they didn't make them, that was it. It was one and done. They didn't have an opportunity to be able, like I said at the top of the show, get second, third chance opportunities. And let's hear from the perspective of West Virginia head coach Josh Eilert, what he had to say following Houston's big win in the Big 12 Conference opener.
All credit to Coach Samson and Houston. That was an impressive performance defensively. I thought maybe we could create some advantages in the game plan, but they did I'd say a masterful job defensively in their game plan in terms of what they did to us and what they took us out of in terms of their ball screen coverage. And so, first and foremost, congrats to them on a great win. This league's I told our guys, this league's it's a bear. So you got to flush it and figure out what you can learn from and turn the page, because it's going to be battle after battle. But I can't imagine Houston's going to contend for the title here for sure. And congrats to them on a good win.
Questions, please. What were they able to do right after the game to throw you along?
Well, they did it with Kerr. Kerr's a pretty good point guard, but they knew they were going to have to get the ball out of his hands. And we talked about hockey assists and basketball and trying to get that one more pass. And Kirk turned it over several times, but we got it out of there for the most part, but we weren't making that next pass. And if we were early, we got some decent looks, but they weren't falling for us. And so, when we're not rewarding ourselves for those good looks, then the ball starts sticking, and we start creating off the bounce. And Houston is not a team that you can create off the bounce whatsoever. So you got to create an advantage with the passing game against Houston, and we didn't do that.
And down low, Houston had, I think it was like a 48-20 advantage of points in the paint. Was that a bit of a surprise that they were able to do so much in the post?
No, not really. We're playing without a five-man. We got Cook out there starting at the 5, and Pat Sumnick playing some minutes at the 5 to help us down low. But our depth at the 5 is very minimal. It was one of my biggest issues going into this season was worrying about Jesse Edwards getting in foul trouble. And I never would have thought I'd be worried about playing without him for 4 or 5 weeks. And, as a concern of mine, not having a backup 5, and now we don't even have a 5. So rebounding has been a critical issue with us, and holding serve in the paint has been a critical issue. So the points in the paint, the differential, I didn't think it'd be 48, but 48-20, but that's what it ended up.
As you guys get into Big 12 play, just what would you say is the biggest challenge that this conference presents week in and week out?
Consistency, and I just spoke with Coach Samson out there. He's got defense in his pocket, and those guys are scared to not guard. And it's a culture he's built here, and he's had time to build it, and he's done an excellent job of maintaining that culture. So certainly bought into the defensive mindset that they got here, and it's made him such a more balanced player, which is going to take him, it's going to increase his value long term. So this mentality here at Houston and what he's got going is impressive defensively.
You sense some frustration out of your guys there late in the first half, maybe.
So once again, that was West Virginia head coach Josh Eilert, and really, those 2 clips right there. First, he's talking about the defense and just how Houston, their players. I like the quote. He said they're afraid to not play defense, which is a testament again to how all his players have bought in. But on that last hint before the clip cut off, he was talking specifically about Eldrick Choir, and again, he focused on that's the biggest difference between what he was with Baylor and here with Houston. He's seen that buy-in, which, like you mentioned, he mentioned in the clip, that's only going to help him long-term, him individually as a player. Again, talking about LJ Choir. But that right there, again, is a testament to the culture that Kelvin Sampson has been able to establish here at Houston for the past several seasons, where it's just non-negotiable. And to have another head coach in a Big 12 conference, a Power 5 conference, where they, night in and night out, he's seen the premier teams across the entire country. When you're talking about Kansas, you're talking about Baylor, you're talking about all these top schools. And to have that be something that immediately sticks out, and their first ever Big 12 game, they had never played Big 12 basketball, but don't tell that to anyone on the men's basketball team, they're going to say they've been a really good program for the last several seasons. But that's really impressive, again, to kind of take it a step back and just look at the outside perspective. That's not normal. That's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, Coach Samson said a little bit during his press conferences that the players, they have a little chip on their shoulder because people say, well, you're just in the American, blah, 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 blah. Now you're in the Big 12. The players want to show that their defense is legit, regardless of the conference that they are in. And they made a point to show that to WVU today. And their defense, I say it, I sound like a broken record, but the defense travels. It game in, game out, it will keep the Cougs in most, if not all, the games they play because their defense is that good. And it's a tribute to the program and what they've established here. And it's commendable. And we'll see what they do for the remaining 17 games in Big 12 play. Next one up, Ames, Iowa on Tuesday. Iowa State's going to be tough there. It's a good challenge. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, you said it right. Defense will keep them in games, and it's so well and it's so good, and oftentimes it will win them games. But oftentimes when their shot isn't falling, and just thinking about the previous games, even in the tournament, their defense kept them in games. And so, I mean, it's the difference with Houston and watching just other teams is the relentless effort to get out and contest every shot, to go to every loose ball, to not give up an uncontested shot is something that some teams you see players and maybe if they not rotate as hard and they give up a shot and be like, oh, my bad. Ain't no my bads for Houston. You rarely see that unless someone just makes a shot. Then like, my bad, he made the shot, but it's not my bad, I didn't get there type of thing. And so, I mean, I love what I'm saying. The more I still want to see him a couple more games to get still better competition, but this was a very, very impressive, dominating win for sure.
And to add to that, Jamal Shed said in the press conference that the players, the teammates, they trust each other, love each other, respect each other enough that they hold each other accountable. If you miss a rotation, if you're not where you're supposed to be, and no one takes it personal because they know they messed up. But the players tell them, you're supposed to be here, you weren't there, get there next time, be quick on that rotation. It's all about the accountability that the program has established because the coaches, it is non-negotiable from the coaches, but it is also non-negotiable from the players. And that is why this team is consistently, where they are now, one of the best teams in the country.
Miles Coleman's comment, this is an extremely deep team, top to bottom. I don't think there's a team in the Big 12 or the country that is outright better than Houston. Can they beat? Definitely, but it won't be easy. Well, those challenges are coming up pretty soon. Like Kris alluded to, they have a tough battle on the road on Tuesday afternoon at Iowa State, and it doesn't get any easier. Next following weekend, they're on the road at TCU on Saturday, in which TCU is just a few baskets away from being able to upset Kansas today. So Big 12, the Wild West, like you just heard West Virginia head coach and Josh Eiler talk about the consistency. That's what really sticks out to him about Big 12 conference basketball. Big Jack 512, I want to bring up his comment as well. He said James Madison lost with Ole Miss at Tennessee. Says Houston has a great chance at being the last undefeated team standing. That's a great that's a great, just neat. It's not even a step, just a tidbit from fans' perspective to be the last undefeated team standing. From the inside the program, all eyes are already set on Tuesday on Iowa State. I don't think they necessarily care too much about whether they're still the last undefeated team left standing. They care about they're the last team left standing come April. Miles Coleman also said LJ Cryer, Jamal Shed, Big 12 Player of the Year. No. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Kris, you say no?
No.
The way Dickerson playing right now,
exactly.
It's gonna be tough.
No. Hunter Dickinson says hello. No, Hunter Dickinson says hello.
Putting up 22 plus at night. That's gonna be tough. Although I think LJ is playing at All-American. Right?
LJ may have a chance to be Player of the Week during conference play, but not Player of the Year. No.
Yeah, Dickerson. Yeah, I agree.
Well, Miles Coleman, appreciate your input. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys that have chimed in so far. We're seeing a lot of comments from YouTube. We have a handful of viewers, both on the Houston Rombar Review YouTube channel and obviously, of course, on the Potsdam Gemma X account, formerly known as Twitter. We appreciate each and every single one of you guys that is taking the time out of your Saturday afternoon to not only watch the show, but also take time, comment. We'd like to hear more from you guys. Who would you guys think had a good performance in this game against West Virginia? What stood out to you about this game against West Virginia? What are you guys looking ahead to see when it comes to Iowa State and TCU as well, who are the next two road game meetings for the Houston Cougars upcoming? But real quickly, once again, this is Let's Rage Coogs presented by the Saxenian Family. Thank you to the Saxenian Family for being the primary sponsor throughout the entire regular season for each and every single LRC men's basketball post-game show. Again, Let's Rage Coogs, the unofficial and original Houston post-game show after each and every single men's basketball and football show. And of course, we also like to say thank you to Star Pizza with 3 locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game. Be sure to stop by any of their locations every Tuesday during lunchtime for an all-you-can-eat pizza buffet. Star Pizza, as always, has free delivery since 1976. If you stop by any of the Star Pizza locations today on Saturday, January 6th, that we are recording this, again, they're open until 10 p.m. You can get a free red velvet cupcake in celebration of Houston's Red Out game that they had here for the Big 12 conference opener against West Virginia, which was very successful for the Houston.
Andy Yanez.
Yes,
You
sir,
have the
Kris.
hookup. What can we do to get some of that Star Pizza food brought to us at a Fertitta Center game?
Well, we just spoke it into existence. Mike Pittman, the Pittmans that are, I'm sure they're watching the show, whether it's live or soon. Well, they'll hit us. We'll see what we can do to get some Star Pizza live on the show. And you know what? One of these road games, we might even do a live show from a Star Pizza. So
there you go.
Let's keep that in the rear, in the air, and we will circle back.
And for our brother on the road, come Big 12 tournament. Not forgetting about you either, man. Let's see if we can get that done come March as well. So let's put it all in out there in the universe and make it happen, put it into existence. Yes.
Russell Islam says Coogs looked great, and we've touched on top to bottom the key contributors, kind of the rotation of guards outside of Dunn, LJ, and Jamal Shed, but Ramon Walker and obviously, of course, Malik Wilson got a lot of run in. There were times specifically when Malik Wilson where it seemed like they were going in and out at times with various things that Kelvin Samson might have been frustrated with. But what did you guys think of the performance? I think Ramon Walker had a bit of an underrated game where a lot of times Houston went 4-guard lineups. There were time where it was JoJo Tugler the 5, Ramon Walker as the 4, and again, now some of it may just be West Virginia, in which they didn't have their total front court players. They had no center coming into this game, but there wasn't really a drop off when it came to having that 4-guard lineup. So again, testament to Ramon Walker and what Houston was able to do in those minutes when they went small with the 4-guard lineup.
Ramon's he's stronger now. So he can bang with bigger players. His outside shot doesn't have that hitch anymore, so the arm and shoulders healthy.
He hit a
made a 3 today. So he's getting better. He's adjusting to more minutes that he's going to get the rest of this season. And let's touch on a little bit more. Damian Dunn was 4 for 8 from the floor today. The first time he's finished at 50% shooting since the game against Utah. So that's almost 2 months where he did not shoot 50% in a game, but he's getting more comfortable. Coach Samson said it, that he's doing better in practice, and how you do in games is really how you do in practice. So Damian's doing a better job in practice lately. So that's good to see. So that's another positive step for this team going forward this season.
And also, like Sam said, that you get your confidence from the work that you put in. And I'm sure over those months over the break that he's been getting a lot of shots up just to get out of that slump. And so it was good to see him to be in rhythm and make shots. He looked confident, didn't look hesitant at all. And just sometimes he was just kind of just looking, just not in. I don't want to say he doesn't look into the game. He was just looking out of sorts, I guess, just to put it in terms. But I think with him and Ramon as well as Wilson, I think those three, it'll be. Well, I don't know what game it'll be, but as conference play as the season goes on, those two will be counted on. I think because you never know with foul trouble, however the game may go. I think those three would just be ready and take advantage of the minutes that they get. And then they come in and they do that. I really like the way Wilson looked out there today in the open floor. I just think there's going to be a game where he's going to really, really kind of be able to show more of what he can do and how he can impact his team.
Because he can score. He doesn't have to score here. He creates havoc defensively, but it's in his bag to score as well. Damian Dunn was a scorer. Damian Dunn was a star in high school, a star player, a leading scorer at Temple. Coming here to get consistent minutes, he's had to learn how to play Cougar defense. He's getting better at that. So the better he plays defensively, the offense is still there. The bag's still there. He's just going to add to it, getting more comfortable in the system, comfortable in the Houston rotations, Houston defense. He has not forgotten how to score. Let's not get it twisted. He's just got to get more used to the Houston Cougars defense, and then the rest will come naturally.
Yeah, Malik Wilson does a great job of being able to attack and just get to the rim. Now, in this game in particular, a couple times where he got blocked by West Virginia players, but it seems like his ability to drive and just get to the rim in and of itself is second nature to him. He does a great job at being able to get into the paint and get those good looks. So absolutely agree with both of you guys. Definitely a good score when it comes to Wilson, and potentially we could see what other assets he brings to the table when it comes to his playmaking, which is kind of much more the role offensively that he's tasked with on this team for the Houston Cougars. Now, one of the last players that I want to touch on before we kind of look ahead at the upcoming Big 12 matchup, but Juwan Roberts, Kris, we mentioned it before after the game against Penn, where maybe it seemed kind of hectic, or not hectic, it seemed kind of cryptic when it came to Kelvin Sampson's comments about Juwan Roberts. Turns out that he was able to play, not only play, but he ended up playing 28 minutes and had 9 points, had 3 rebounds. I think much more him being able to play 28 minutes. That's what stands out to me the most, because that goes to show that Kelvin Sampson and the staff had full confidence in him being able to go out there and have being able to have all those minutes, and specifically in a game where it was lopsided, they could have been much more careful with his minutes. Does that do anything for you guys in terms of confidence in his ability down the stretch, heading into the meat and potatoes of the Big 12 conference season? And what did you guys see from him in this outing?
He was solid. I found out that what we thought was Coach Sampson being cryptic, there wasn't a concern about it. Juwan was going to play. And I will see how the knee, if it flares up today, how he does Sunday. If the grind of, getting into 2 games a week in conference play will take its toll, if any, during this, January, February time frame. The game's Tuesday. Will that quicker turnaround be an issue for him? But it doesn't seem to be a concern. So as long as he can be productive in games, he does not have to perform and spend a lot of time in practice. We know what he can do. The team knows what he can do. As long as he can be healthy for games, it's a good sign for the Cougs.
As much as Coach Sam likes his players to practice, I think he's known and learned how to practice for Houston 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
So like Kris just said, I think he's earned that right now. But I mean, to your point, Andy, I was watching him and seeing if he was tentative at all, and he looked relatively healthy. I mean, he was jumping everywhere, going off the rebounds, catching and finish, going up and dunking. And so, I mean, he's one of the most important players that we need, especially to the depth of the front court players and his leadership as well. And so it was good to see him play the X amount of minutes, but we definitely need him for sure.
Looking ahead at the schedule, the Cougars return to action Tuesday, January 9th against Iowa State. That is going to be a 6 p.m. tip-off. The game's going to be on ESPN2. And then they follow that with a Saturday road game at TCU. That game will be on ESPN. So a week from today, they'll be playing the Horned Frogs at 5 p.m. 2 tough games, 2 tough opponents. As you just mentioned, what TCU was really close to being able to pull off the upset against Kansas. While this was a big celebration for the Big 12 opener, it's still the Big 12. There's, like you mentioned, Kris, 17 more games to go, and they're definitely going to be tested these next 2 games here on the road.
Road games. Kellen Sampson said, what is it?
Road games are street fights.
And that was before the Big 12. So it's going to be even tougher street fights starting on Tuesday. Iowa State, kind of slow, controlled tempo. Game's going to Probably ugly, but beautiful to people like me who love defense. I'm looking forward to the physicality. I hope the refs allow both teams to play and not call too many touch fouls. But I'm looking forward to it.
11-2 entering the game, and they playing Oklahoma. Yeah, no easy games on the road.
And you want to pull up the net rankings so everybody can see how life in the Big 12 could be for everybody?
Yes, sir. Let's do that right now. This is now games played through January 5, so it's not updated for Houston. It doesn't count this game against West Virginia, but you see there, Houston leads the net at number 1. BYU not too far behind them at 3. Iowa State, who Houston's going to see on the road on Tuesday, they're 8th. Kansas, 11th. Baylor, 16th. Oklahoma, 28th. Cincinnati, 37. TCU, who Houston will see next Saturday, 41. Texas, 51. Texas Tech, 53. UCF, 70. Kansas State, 94th. Oklahoma State, 126. And West Virginia, who Houston obviously played here today, 164. So I guess technically this is the game against the quote-unquote worst team in the conference. And yeah, Houston passed that test very well. But oh my goodness. I remember last year, how many top 50 teams did the American Athletic Conference have last year? Wasn't it 2? It was Houston and Memphis.
If Memphis was top 50.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying shade they were. I think they eventually became top 50, but there was a while they weren't. So
and here there's 8 top 50 teams, and Texas is literally 51st. Texas Tech 53. Jeez. Well, like you said, welcome to the Big 12 when it comes to net rankings.
And that's another reason why I'm not caught up in the Cougs being the last undefeated team, if they are or whatever. They're going to lose in Big 12 play. They're not going to suddenly become a bad team because of a loss in the Big 12. They'll still be fine. The objective, Andy, Dayon, everybody knows, is to get 6 straight wins come tournament time. That's the objective. Because you do that, Coach Samson gets his first national championship, and that's what we all want.
Dan, you got anything to add in terms of the strength of schedule? I think Houston has, certainly a top 10. I think it might be top 5 toughest strength of schedule remaining to close out the season. And I think all 14 Big 12 teams own the toughest strength of schedules left. So, yeah, not going to be an easy road for any of these teams.
I'm excited for it. I mean, starting with Iowa State, I think going to Iowa on the road, it's going to be a tough matchup. So I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to the challenge, looking forward to see how good this team really, really is. And I think they are a really good team. But it's a lot of season left, and I'm excited for it.
And that's pretty much going to do it for today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs. Kris, I'm going to toss it over to you. Where can people find you, and any last messages you'd like to put out there?
As always, thank you, everybody, for participating in the discussion, watching this show, Let's Rage Coogs, the original post-game show for Houston football and men's basketball. We're going to be with you throughout the rest of this regular season, throughout the Big 12 conference tournament, and we'll go as far as Cougs go. So thank you for the support. Thank you for following us. Tell your friends about the Houston Roundball Review and Paul Slamma Jamma. Subscribe to both YouTube channels. You can follow me on my social media platforms at Houston Roundball Review. And Roundball Review been around since 1994. Local name, global perspective.
Big Jack 512 says TCU got screwed by the refs with less than a minute. There was a controversial flagrant foul call that I saw. I haven't been able to see the actual video of itself. So Horned Frogs going to be a really tough test. Iowa State is going to be a tough test too. They're going to play Oklahoma. I'm going to go home and get to see how they look against the Sooners. But thanks to each and every single one of you guys that, like I said, took the time to comment, watch the show. This is Let's Rage Coogs presented by the Saxenian Family. Thank you to the Saxenian Family, to Star Pizza for being sponsored on today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs. People can follow me on x.com, formerly known as Twitter, at Ayanez_5. Most importantly, be sure to subscribe to the Paul Slamma Jamma channel on YouTube or on X, whichever platform you're watching. And obviously, of course, on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel as well. We'll be back on Tuesday as I toss it over to Dayon. Any final words, and where can people find you?
Like you guys just said, appreciate all the continued support. You can find me, guys, on all social media at Dayon Dunlap. I'm excited for the Cougs to continue to see the season. Say, go Cougs.
Go Coogs, and we'll close out. We'll be back Tuesday following Houston's game against Iowa State.